Mr. Flora?
Mr. Mayor, just like to pull item 16, the closed session item from the agenda. We're expecting a response from the county on this case, but haven't gotten one thus far, so no need to discuss.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to?
Mr. Mayor,
agenda?
I'd like to make a motion that the agenda be accepted as presented with one alteration put up by City Manager Flora.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Kramer and a second by Vice Mayor Purdock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll go to the presentations of October adoptable dogs. I thought I saw a canine coming in. There we go.
Mhm.
Lulu is about 8 years old. She's a Chihuahua mix, I guess, in pretty good health. Her teeth were kind of dirty. You know, she was already spayed when she came in. She's up to date on her vaccines, microchipped, house trained, loves cats, especially kittens. We let her kind of help out a little bit when we have some litters at the shelter. She's active, you know, she likes playing. She can jump up on anything to be on your lap. But, you know, likes to chill out too. So, and she was pretty good in the car on the way over too. So, she didn't care. Yeah.
How old did you say she was?
Sweater on. She's about 8. Yeah. She tried to put little pumpkin Halloween costume on her and she wasn't having it. But the sweater she liked. So. If you want more information, or you're interested in Lulu, give the shelter a call at 707-273-9440. They're located at 6820 Old Highway 53 off of Airport Road. We're open Tuesday through Friday, noon to 4, and also by appointment. All right, that's it. You ready?
Thank you, Charmaine.
Charmaine, could you, are the photos that are on the website, are they of just, I know there's more dogs in there than are showing those photos, so or is it just those that are now available to be adopted with all their shots and everything?
Yes, so we're in the middle of a switch, so I'm actually not sure the answer to your question because it's all happening right now.
Okay,
We'll get back to you on it though.
that's good.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and members of the public. I'm here before you tonight to present the animal care and control shelter statistics. These are from January 1st year to date. So intake, we've had 299 dogs come into the shelter. 266 have left the shelter. It's 149 rescued, 91 returned to the owner, 19 adopted, 6 euthanized, and the 1 escapee. The live release rate is currently at 97.7%. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. All right, we'll go to the, let's see, what we got. This time, time for public comment. This is a time for any member of the public to address the city council or any matter not on the agenda that is within subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought before under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on the next available agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have anybody on public comment? Pastor Graveson, please.
I haven't had a chance to look at the agenda. I hope this isn't on it. I just, as speaking as chaplain for the Lake County Fire Protection District, I want to announce and invite everyone here. We will be holding a memorial service for Lake County first responders tomorrow evening at 5:30 in Lakeport at the Courthouse Museum Park. And it's always important to remember and honor those who gave all for Lake County in fire and law enforcement. I just wanted to announce that and invite everyone.
Thank you. Any else from the public here? If not, are there any on, oops, we'll have one more. Mr. Lustalo, please.
I wasn't planning on speaking, but I had something I thought I could bring to the attention of the council. I know you can't respond, but I just acquired a property across the street from Fisher Auto Electric. And it's next to our tow yard. There's a little greenhouse there. I'm not sure what the address is, but there's a problem with the drainage right there. All the water accumulates from the street right there, and it runs right across the street into the house. And there's been a problem where the water has ran across there so much that the corner of the house is actually sank 4 inches. I had talked to Mr. Purdock about it, and he was supposed to speak to Public Works, I believe it was, about correcting the water drainage problem there. So I just wanted to bring it to the attention. If somebody's here that is hearing me, that can reach out to me, I'd appreciate it, because something's got to be done, because there is no drainage there now. The only drainage is actually just runs across down through the houses. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe the city public works director is taking notes there.
Well, yeah, I know they've done some investigation on it. I don't know the results of all of it, but we'll make sure that we follow up with Mr. Lucelo.
Chief White.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I wanted to bring an item before you as a public comment. You may recall that back in December of last year, we'd been contacted about the needle exchange program. We did a community survey, which overwhelmingly showed that there are significant concerns. I rise before you today just to tell you that I learned as recently as today that they're now distributing methamphetamine pipes. This is of serious concern for public safety, our community here. And I think it's something that we need to definitely look at in the future, but that people need to be aware that this stuff is going on. I had no idea that they had gone from that. The last discussion, I had asked them if they had done a CEQA analysis regarding their distribution of the pipes, of the needles and the impact on the community. And so today I learned that. So I understand there can't be a response or a discussion, but I felt there was something that was timely to make sure that you're aware of what's going on in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, any other public comment here? If not, do we have anybody on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, we do not have anybody on Zoom, but I do have a public comment that was received via email. This comment was received from Barbara Kreiswich, and I will begin to read it. It says, I participate in a volunteer organization called Citizens Caring for Clearlake, which has been active for the past almost 7 years. Our groups clean up litter and illegal dump sites. Recently, we worked on a massive illegal dump site off Sulphur Bank Road, specifically at parcel number 5 of the Borax Lake LLC at 12740 Sulphur Bank Road. Our work party began on October 6th and ended on October 18th. We piled, sorted, and bagged debris. The debris included such items as literally tons of garbage, a family photo album, appliances, 2 cars, a boat, and a burned out mobile home base, a camper topper, construction debris, and probably 200 empty butane cans. Some dumpers drove high up into the hill, going to great effort to dump their items. We found at least half a dozen names of people's mail and car registrations. One woman's mail had her name and several pieces of mail. So I Googled that name to find that she had testified in 2019 at Clearlake City Hall, speaking against mandatory garbage service. It makes me wonder if she preferred dumping off of Sulphur Bank Road to paying for garbage. I went to her home near Mendo Mill, and the yard looks as if she had not been using garbage service. I think at least one cause of illegal dumping is lack of financial resources for the landfill. I am asking that the city of Clearlake consider a fund for people who ask for dump waiver based on their citizen perceived financial need. CC4C offers a $30 dump voucher once per year per residence. Residents to people who ask. CC4C asks people to take their debris to the landfill, get a receipt, and then bring the receipt to me for reimbursement. CC4C's treasury is not sufficient for service the whole town of Clearlake. That is why I'm asking for support from the city of Clearlake to attempt to stem the tide of illegal dumping in places such as off Sulphur Bank Road, at least the portion under the city's jurisdiction. We need legal avenues for people to dispose of their waste. Yesterday, a local low-income single mother of 3 asked what to do about her junk camper trailer, which needs to go to the dump. At this point, it is looking like $2,000 to $3,000 job. She doesn't have the money. I suggested she tear it apart piece by piece and take it to the landfill. Surely there are better answers to that. Please enact local laws which will help our city be cleaner and safer. Thank you so much for all the good you do. Sincerely, Barbara Christwich.
Thank you. I guess we'll discuss that at some point in the future. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda? Any from the council wants to pull an item? I'll open it up to the public. Any of the public wants to pull an item? If not, we'll take it back to the council. Can I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Councilman Kramer. A second by Councilman Claffey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll go to item number 10. Mr. City Manager, maybe you can see what's going on with that.
Yeah, Ms. Swanson will provide a brief introduction, and then we have a gentleman representing Clearlake Apartments that will give a presentation.
You.
Honorable Mayor and council members, your council is being asked to conduct a Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, or TEFRA, hearing and adopt a resolution approving the issuance of tax exempt bonds not to exceed $8 million by the California Statewide Communities Development Authority, or CSCDA, for the benefit of HPD Clearlake 2 to provide financing for the acquisition and rehabilitation of a 72-unit multifamily rental housing project known as Clearlake Apartments. James Hamill, Managing Director of the CSCDA, is available via Zoom and can talk more about the project in detail and answer questions.
The gentleman can tell his story on Zoom.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. James Hamill here, Managing Director with CSCDA. Here tonight, as Ms. Swanson pointed out, for a public hearing, this is a federal requirement and a local requirement of our authority. The city of Clearlake has been a member to CSCDA since 1993, so a longtime member. And this is a refinancing of for the project Clearlake Apartments that will include a rehabilitation of all the units. Approximately $60,000 will be spent on each unit for upgrades to those units, and it will extend the affordability of those units there for another 55 years. The key component of this is there's no liability to the city. This is merely a perfunctory requirement of the tax code and of our JPA, so we do not issue bonds in your backyard without you knowing about it. The project will still be owned by the same owner. It is just merely a refinancing as required after the 15-year period. And as mentioned in the staff report, the previous financing was done in 2005. So that's why we're back in 2021. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have. And again, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you.
Do any of council have any questions? If not, we'll open a public hearing. Anyone from the public has any comments or wish to speak on this matter? Anybody on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, there is no one on Zoom.
All right, we'll take it back to the council. Any deliberation on this, or you want to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-54 and read by title only. a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake approving the issuance by California Statewide Communities Development Authority of multifamily housing revenue bonds for the Clear Lake Apartments.
We have a motion by Councilman Kramer and a second by Councilwoman Overton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll move to item number. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move to our next item on the agenda. Item 11, Mr. Looks like we have our Public Works Director taking this item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. This is a pretty small item as public works projects go, but a very important one to the future of the city. Recently, the city acquired the water park that was part of the old airport land. And with the intent of adding that to the city-owned property there for as part of the overall improvement of that land and turning it into a commercial area. And so as part of the cleanup, it was necessary, it is necessary to remove all of the infrastructure that was placed there for the water park. So we released an opportunity for companies to bid on that demolition on the 22nd of September, and on the 30th of September, we had a mandatory pre-bid meeting, and six representatives from 6 companies attended that pre-bid meeting. And then on the 14th of October, the bidding period closed, and only 2 companies of the 6, only 2 companies came and bid. The high bid or the low bid was Resource Environmental for $239,800. The high bid was more than twice that much. At the request of the city manager, we, actually, I shouldn't say we, Adeline called the companies that didn't bid to find out why. 2 of them said they just forgot to bid. 1 of them determined that they didn't have the ability to do the job, didn't have the right equipment or enough equipment. And the other company we were never able to get a hold of. So at this time, we would ask the council to approve the contract with Resource Environmental in the amount of $239,800. Unless, of course, you would rather go some other direction, have us rebid or something like that. And I'll answer any questions you have at this time.
Councilman Overton has a question.
Okay, so when you looked at these bids, there's like a huge difference in them, or but the job's going to be the same. I mean, the Resource Environmental is going to be able to do this job for that price. I mean, they're absolutely positive, because that's a big difference in the pricing on this as far as the cost here.
Well, they certainly believe that they can do the job for that amount, and we did talk to them about it. The differences in bidding, in pricing that companies give depends on a lot of different factors. How much work they currently have, how desperate they are for additional work. Sometimes companies that have lots of work will bid on a job and they're not really that concerned whether or not they get it, because they have lots to do anyway. And if they do get it, well, that's great, because they submitted a really high bid and they managed to walk away with it. So it's really hard to tell with just 2 bids. With more bids, then you usually see a group around the same area. Now, if 5 had bid or 6 had bid and all of them were up high and there was 1 outlier down low, then we would be concerned that they really didn't understand what needed to be done. And what we really don't want to do is get into a situation where we have 1 million change orders coming at us because they way underbid and they didn't really understand what they were getting into. But as I say, it's a little difficult to tell with just 2 bids and with them so far apart.
But you have met with them
Yes, and
discussed it.
we've discussed it with them and they feel confident that they can get it done at that price.
Okay, well, I hope we don't have any more change orders.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Curious, did you talk to the high bidder just out of curiosity why he was so high?
Adeline did the phone calls and she didn't share that with me if they gave her a reason why they were so high. My guess is that they just have a lot of work, but I don't know that for sure.
Any more questions? Oh, Mr. City Manager.
Well, I mean, I just want to, add for the council's benefit. I mean, we put this on the staff's recommendation to go ahead and move forward. I mean, even the low bid was higher than what we were kind of expecting. I mean, there's a lot of concrete there. There's a lot of hauling that needs to be done. So we didn't really know where it was going to come in. We're also fine just rejecting this bid and trying to rebid it. It is unfortunate that so many folks didn't end up submitting bids, but I just wanted to share that. I mean, we can kind of go either way. I mean, we do know from previous projects that Resource Environmental is normally in the low bid area. So we think that there's a significant chance that we aren't going to get a lower bid from someone else, but you just never know unless you try. So I mean, there isn't a critical timing factor necessarily to do it, other than one, the park has been used under the previous owner as like a airsoft course, and we're concerned about the liability associated with that. So we have tried to secure the fencing around the property. And then the other issue is, we're just excited about the project coming together and would like to see and show the community some progress at the site, even if it's just clearing off that property. But there's no reason that we have to move forward immediately on this. If you would like for us to reject and rebid.
Any other questions?
So is this removing the building too, or just the skate park, the outside part? Is that
Building's
removing?
already gone.
Oh, I haven't.
It burnt and was removed by the previous owner.
Oh, okay. All right. So, well, I'm comfortable with this. I just was curious about the such a difference in, and I wanted to make sure that you had talked to them. So, okay, thank you.
I have a question. What was the original estimate?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we didn't do an engineer's estimate on this.
We didn't
was
have
too
an
difficult.
engineer's estimate. It was just it's not really an engineering issue. And so we didn't really come up with an estimate as what we thought it would cost. I think we were in my discussion with the city engineer, we thought it would be around 150, but we didn't really have anything to base that on because we've never done that kind of work.
I'll voice my personal opinion. I think we should just wait. I mean, if this is, there might be a lot of extra cost involved during winter time doing this kind of work. So I think, personal opinion, I think I'd like to wait on this, but let's open to the public. Any comments from the public, question from the public here or on Zoom?
Mr. Mayor, there's no one on Zoom.
All right, we'll bring it back to the council. Looks like Vice Mayor Purdock is.
Well, I appreciate the comments. I like to hear the information that came in. This is an important project. It's been an important project for the city for a long time to see that water park, or I'm sorry, the old airport develop. And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see this move forward. We have 2 bids and ready to go to work.
Councilman Kramer.
I tend to agree with Vice Mayor Purdock on this. We didn't have anything other than a guesstimate at a lower price, so the 239.8 is, I think, to me, is acceptable, especially when you compare it to almost 500,000 from the other bidder. And I'd like to see it, like, for the same reason that our city manager mentioned. It gives our folks, our community is seeing progress made out there, dirt being moved. So I would like to see it go forward as well.
Councilman Claffey, you have any?
I guess I'm just curious, is the concern that we could get a lower bid, or is there a concern that because of the weather that this bid could be too low and we could have issues?
I don't know.
I think the concern is that we'd have a lot of, there could be change orders that come in that would bump the price up. But. Correct?
I mean, I don't think, and I mean, I don't want to speak for Dale. I don't think that's really staff's concerns about their ability to do this
Okay.
work. It's more, if we bid it again and we had more people bid, would we get a lower bid?
I see. Thank you.
Go ahead.
It would seem to me the fact that two of the bidders forgot to bid, that doesn't tell me, give me a good feeling. And another one didn't think he could do it. So I think there's a lot of unknowns out there. Right? We have one known, and it's in the price range that I think we could accept.
Any more comments from council? I have one last comment. Obviously, I want to see things moving on the airport property. Definitely, I'm a big proponent of it, and I'd like to see something done too. But I think it might be a better time a little bit later when we can start moving all the corporation yard stuff out of there and crushed cars and everything from there. But I'm open to any. Okay, Councilwoman Overton.
I would prefer not to wait because as we wait, we know that everything is going up. Wages are going to shoot up again. And I think we need to take advantage of what we have here. I feel comfortable if our public works director has talked to them and they feel comfortable with it. It's a proven company already for us. So I really feel we need to move. I'd like to see this project move. And I think if we wait, the price is just going to go up because wages are going to go up. At the first of the year, they go up again. So, so I say we need to take advantage of what we got.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make the motion to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Resource Environmental for the water park demolition project in the amount of $239,800 and authorize the city manager to approve up to 10% for additional unforeseen contract amendments.
We have a motion by Councilman Kramer and a second by Councilwoman Overton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item, which is item number 12, which is code enforcement issue. I understand Mr. Lee Lambert is going to.
Yeah, Mr. Lambert, the supervising code enforcement officer, will give you an update on this item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. We're just presenting a bid, approval for a bid for a contract for towing passenger vehicles only and just dismantling of them. We went out to bid on September 9th. It was advertised, went out to bid. On October 7th, the bids closed. We only received 2 bids back. The one in front of you is the low bid. After receiving the bid, myself and Lieutenant Hobbs met with the owner of the company. There's a couple amounts on there that we still feel like are extremely high for us. The towing of RVs at $3,100 each. With our budget amount right now, that would be basically 30 RVs would eat up our whole amount. Same thing with the vessels. We felt comfortable with the $250 per vehicle and also the flat fees for difficult tows and disposal of garbage. So that's what we're presenting you today, is to approve items A, E, and F on the contract. And then we're determining other means for RVs, whether we have to go out to bid or other ways we can get those towed off the road, RVs and vessels.
Mr. Mayor, can I add one thing just to make sure that the council's clear? So our current practice has been to use the towing company to tow the vehicles to the airport property, store them until we have a larger number of them, and then contract with, recently it's been Kelseyville Auto Salvage to come and crush them all. And so we've been paying for the towing and paying for the crushing. The idea of this RFP was that it would be all included, so we wouldn't have to store them. So they would be direct towed by the and crushed, and we don't have to store any of them anymore. So that part of it we like, but as Mr. Lambert mentioned, the RV cost, I think maybe you could share with the council. I think it's right now to tow and crush an RV, it's averaging like what, $750?
Yeah, $750 right now.
So big difference from over 3,000.
All right, we have any questions from the council? Councilman Claffey?
I was just curious what the average cost for a passenger vehicle, what the current situation.
Current is 200.
200, okay.
Your plan with the motorhomes and RVs?
We're still evaluating that right now. We haven't come up with a decision at this time yet.
All right, any, Councilwoman Overton?
I just want to clarify, so you're saying
Micah,
so the flat fee you're okay with, the, was it E?
Yeah, it's A, E, and F. On E, it would have to be pre-approved by the officer. They couldn't just bill us because they thought it was a difficult tow. They would have to get authorization prior to.
All right, and then the other ones you're gonna research, and I'm assuming we're gonna see something back later.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any more questions from the council?
What will we do in the meantime on those items that are, you have rejected here?
I'm not sure yet. I mean,
I think we can continue the current practice of towing and storing and crushing on those. I mean, we don't really like that because unsightly. I mean, once we have the new public works yard, you won't be able to see them from a public thoroughfare like that, but that's gonna still be a little bit. But I mean, that's the only way that we have to address it currently.
And one last, you don't think there's any possibility of putting it back out to bid again, that you might get any more response?
I mean, there's always a possibility of that, but I mean, I think we contacted 5 in the county, and 2 bid.
Okay, thank you.
All right, have any more questions? We open it to the public.
Pete Lustelo, Enterprise Towing, we were the holders of the prior contract with that. We did not rebid, but I wanted to offer to answer any questions if you guys had any that may help you, because it seems like you had a couple questions that, so if you guys have any, I'm more than happy to answer any questions about the old contract with helping to make a decision with the new one.
We have any quick time? Councilwoman Overton?
I'm just curious, why did you not rebid? Is it because you don't have the space, the time, or you just felt like it was?
When it originally came up to bid, we were only towing the vehicles, because storing the vehicles and dismantling of the vehicles was not something that we did. One, we didn't have the room to store them. 2, that's a whole nother thing there. So when it came out to bid, we tried to do it as low as we could for both the RVs and the cars to try to get a lot of stuff cleaned up. Another problem with going out to bid on this is that when you're towing RVs, when you're moving outside of the city limits, it's kind of out of our safety zone, because there's a whole different classification for towing with those. Once you tow a vehicle over 10,000 pounds, you're supposed to have a Class A driver to do that, and you're supposed to have bigger trucks to do that. Our thoughts were with trying to get these RVs cleaned up, because there were so many of them, that if it was done inside of Clearlake, we weren't having to store them and dispose of them, that we would do it. We'd find a way to get it done. And that's why we didn't rebid on that, because now we're talking about, we would have to tell them to Kelseyville, maybe to the wrecking yard up there. And with DOT and the laws and stuff, it just wouldn't be something that we could do.
All right, Councilman Kramer, I believe you had a question.
I think Mr. Lustelo answered.
Okay. Any more questions? Councilman Clappy was
So
still on
just-
public comment here.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, do we have any on Zoom for public comment at this? All right, we'll bring it back to the council. You had questions, Councilman Clafford?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was clear. So with the lapsing of this contract, right now we have no solution for RVs, as I understand it.
Yeah, at this time, I mean, if the city manager wants us to start moving forward with towing them to our yard right now, then that would be the temporary solution. But as far as a contract or anything, we don't have that yet.
Okay. Do we know how many abandoned vehicles we have right now that are a problem in the city?
That have been tagged already?
Yeah.
There's probably like 30 right now.
And how many of those are RVs?
I think there's 4 RVs and 2 vessels right now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right, any more discussion on the council? If not, I'll entertain a motion. If not,
Go ahead.
I'll make
I'm
the
sorry, I'm
motion
having
just so
computer
it's made.
problems.
Move that award a contract for code enforcement abandoned vehicle abatement program to All-in-One Towing for towing, storage, dismantling, and disposal services as for the 3 items, flat T A, flat T E, and flat T F, and exclude flat T B, C, and D from the contract.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Kramer and a second by Councilman Claffey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move to update and discussion on the cash fire. I believe our city manager will start on this one.
Yeah, the main update really is going to be provided by Finance Director Young. She's going to provide an update on the ROE process and where we are.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. So we have been working very diligently with the community on trying to get our right of entry forms so that Cal OES can come in and do debris removal and hazardous tree removal. As of tonight, we are up to 51 ROEs completed with 4 pending signature that we're expecting early next week, and 5 properties, both a couple of mobile homes and 3 actual properties that we have been unable to contact so far. However, this is enough of an ROE process that we now are able to move forward, and Cal OES is planning on being here tomorrow to start with asbestos abatement and then moving directly into debris removal. So we are very grateful to Cal OES for all of their support and the fact that they're going to come here, and we're very excited to finally be at this point. Now, granted, with the weather, it is possible that there may be additional delay, but they're also aware of the urgency of, because of the weather, for them to start their debris removal process. So,
Any
thank you.
questions, Sam?
Yeah, if I could just add on that, I mean, we're very pleased with where we are. There's been almost every employee of the city has touched this process at some point, but Crystal, our office assistant, and Director Young have put an extraordinary amount of work into getting us to this point. And I believe it's resulted in us being one of the first, if not the first, community impacted by wildfire that will begin debris removal under this contract, which is exceptional. And so anyway, I just want to make sure that the council is aware of all the effort put in to get to this point.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll open it up to the public. Do we have any comment from the public here? Not any public comment on Zoom, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, there are no hands raised on the Zoom.
All right, we'll bring it back to the council. Is there any direction that we want to give except,
Did a great job, guys.
yeah, great
Really
job.
proud of you guys.
Thank you, staff.
Yeah, I mean, Public Works has been monitoring the BMPs for stormwater that were installed. Our Public Works Director was out there on Monday morning to see how everything held up on Sunday. Everything looks good. Cal OES has been quite impressive in my view in coordinating with us through this. I received a call today from Cal OES to see if there's any concerns that we had about the measures that they had put in place. Of course, we are concerned. I mean, a third of an inch of rain is one thing, and 3 to 6 inches is something quite different. But we're hoping that what's in place will hold up, and the debris removal will begin, heavily, hopefully next week. So.
Go ahead, Councilman Overton.
What's going on with the water? Did we ever figure out anything with the water company out there?
Well, there's several issues related to water, so I'm not exactly sure which one you're referring to, but there was never a resolution with Lower Lake water serving Creekside. Senator McGuire has been involved in trying to push the water board to get Canocti Water District's planned improvements done really soon and get that funded by the water board. And I think the long-term expectation is that both of those parks will be served by Canocti Water District in the future. There's a few things to get in place to make that happen, but I think that's the direction that everything's heading.
Wasn't there some people still living in that trailer park?
We were forced to red tag those, and so we made sure that they had housing and let them know the situation, and then those are not inhabitable. I mean, even if that wasn't an issue with all the cleanup around them, it probably wasn't a good idea for them to be there, but hopefully they'll be able to get back in.
This was in both Cache Creek Fire or Cache Creek Trailer Park and also Creekside.
No, this is only Creekside.
Creekside, yeah.
Cache Creek has a temporary water connection through Canocti Water District.
There's 4, I think, in Creekside.
I have two questions. I saw that Canocti also is providing water to the single family or that lot in between the 2 mobile home parks. And also, we have whose generator is that's running out there, and whose generator is it? Because
It's PG&E's. So I don't know. I guess we need to try a different way to let them know that they don't need to be running that anymore.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. All right. Any more questions, staff, or things? If not, we'll move on to item number 14, discussion of possible action regarding Lake County Board of Supervisors redistricting process. Mr. Alan Flora, would you?
Yeah, so we've talked about the redistricting process. We've submitted requests to the redistricting commission per the council direction. The process is a little bit different for the county supervisorial districts. That process is handled by the Board of Supervisors. They've had, I think, a couple of workshops at this point and have 2 more coming up to get input from the public on any changes to the 5 supervisorial districts. It's a little difficult to get your arms around all of the things associated with this. The idea, of course, is that all the supervisorial districts have as close to the same population as possible. And as I understand, all of the even with the population growth, the differences in population are within the acceptable range, and so there wouldn't necessarily have to be any changes to the districts. However, they're looking at that, and it would be appropriate time if the council would like to, have any discussion or provide any input on what they would like to see. There was some mention at the last workshop about changing things around so that our current District 1 supervisor didn't have any of his district in the city. Of course, that would require a shift so that more of District 3 represented the city. We don't have any specific recommendations to you. It's just this is your chance in the next 10 years to to provide some input on that and wanted to see what the council thought and if you had any direction to give us. I think the next workshop is November 2nd coming up, but I'll look that up.
All right, do
Yeah,
we have
so
any
it's-
comments on this? It looks like,
Well, I thought I did. Mr. Fleur, is there anything tangible, anything or not concrete, but from the discussions the board's having, are you aware of what their thoughts are?
At this point, it's just been discussions. I believe the next meeting, they're required to have draft maps presented. And yeah, so it's November 2nd at 6 PM. They'll be having a special meeting to discuss this, and they will have draft maps to present and provide feedback at that time. And then November 30th is currently scheduled as the final public hearing where they would adopt the final map.
Mr.
all right.
Just one more
Vice
comment.
Mayor Purdock, go ahead.
Mr. Flora, and I apologize, I don't have the data, but what was the city population? Are we increasing population? Are we shrinking? Is that why we're looking at these adjustments?
Yeah, I mean, the county population did increase and I believe the city population increased too. We have one additional census tract than we did in 2010. So yeah, there's a few additional, they try not to adjust the census tract boundaries themselves. But there's a few situations. I think there's one in Clearlake, one in Lakeport, and one on Cobb Mountain at least, where they just took one and divided it in two. And Supervisor Sabatier is on and has his hand raised if there's any feedback that you would like specifically from
Councilman
him.
Kramer had a
Well, I was
question.
just going to comment that I've had conversations with both Supervisor Sabatier and Supervisor Simon, so I'm not going to speak for Supervisor Sabatier if he's on and is going to speak for himself. But I get the impression that really they don't have enough data yet for them to make a decision. And I dug into this over the last few days, and it's the more I dig into it, the more confusing it gets. We need more information before we can make any kind of a recommendation.
All right, Mr. Councilman Claffey or Councilman Odom? If not, we open it to the public. Any other public here that wants to comment on this item? If not, this is Bruno's chance. Go ahead, Bruno.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just wanted to make sure, I know that there was a mention November 2nd, 6 PM is our next redistricting meeting. I think it's really important to have at least one person from the city council to be there to help review the maps. There is a chance that the city of Clearlake could potentially have 3 district supervisors that have the ability to represent the city of Clearlake. I know that District 2 needs to lose about 5% of the population it currently represents due to some changes all around the lake. District 3 needs to lose about 1%, District 4 about 2%, and then District 5, Cobb and those areas, Kelseyville, due to mainly to fires, they lost the most amount of population and need to gain 7%. And the Middletown and Lower Lake areas need to gain about 2%. So there's definitely going to be some shifts. I'm not quite sure which directions the lines are going to be placed, but I think it would definitely be important to have at least a say, especially since there's a potential for gaining a district supervisor within the city limits. Whether or not you think that's beneficial is up to you. I do want to say also the currently right now, I know we want to look at the big picture as to where the district lines will be, but the idea is to really submit those communities of interest that we do not want to see split up, because it makes sense to keep those areas whole in one specific area. Like, for example, an easy one would be Big Valley is split into 2 between District 4 and District 5. Is it possible to keep that all within one district because they have a lot of similarities? Similarly, obviously, with the city of Clearlake, keeping it whole would be great, but because of the population, it's impossible to do so. So it makes sense to me that the old Highway 53 trailer parks and the Village and Highlands Harbor have been split off and put into District 1 because they have those similarities, those 2 areas. So that's mainly what's happening right now is collection of communities of interest. And I think it definitely would be useful if you go to the website, there is a mapping tool, albeit a little bit difficult to utilize, but you can print out the map and draw it yourself and then submit those drawings specifically to the redistricting team so that we can see which areas you want to make sure do not get split into two districts. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kramer.
Yeah, I have a question for Supervisor Sabatier. You mentioned the village on Islands Harbor as well as the trailer parks on the lakeside of Old 53. When I looked at that, it looks to me like those are split. The village and Highlands Harbor is in one, or maybe they're each in one, but they're different than I think the areas of the old trailer parks to the north of that. I think there seems to be more than one district in those areas. Is that what, am I correct in that, or do you have a?
I agree that they're different. I think they're different communities of interest that were kept together and then eventually moved into District 1. So for example, Highlands and the Village makes sense to keep that as one community of interest. All the trailer parks make sense to keep that all in one community of interest. And the idea is to throw as many communities of interest into one specific district with the least amount being split into two. And I think eventually there is going to be some splitting just because we have to try our best to be as even in population for every district. But we're going to do our best to make sure that those communities of interest do not get split.
And did I understand you or did I misunderstand when you said that we could have a 10% leeway?
There is between districts, there can be a difference of 3 to 4%. Right now, for example, with I have to lose 5% and Supervisor Pyska has to gain 7%. There's definitely more than 3 to 4% difference at this moment in time. So changes will have to occur, but there is a range in which they allow us to have certain discrepancies.
So it's 3 to 4%, not 10%.
Yeah, I believe it's 3 to 4%. I may have misspoke with the 10%.
Okay.
All right, Vice Mayor Purdock.
Bruno, can you share with us some of the conversation around the line between District 3 and District 2, how that would change?
Well, it's possible that it remains the same, and it's possible that it slowly comes into the gooseneck area, the area that is where the sulfur fire footprint was, the westernmost area of the city of Clearlake. It's possible that it slowly sneaks into that. I would suspect that most likely that may not happen. That it's most likely that it will be District 1 that takes up a little bit more of the southern side and the eastern side of the city of Clearlake. But again, I'm just making up what I believe could happen. But that's I need to lose the largest amount. And so somebody's going to have to either grow District 1 into District 2 or grow District 3 into District 2 or both.
Thank you.
Any other?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I know it's not the normal where we have a recommendation for you and stuff. This is a little different situation. I mean, I think you have a few options. You could choose to trust the decision of the Board of Supervisors. You could appoint someone to be involved directly. You know, the next workshop that the county's having is on the 2nd. We have our next council meeting on the 4th. So we probably could, you know, go ahead and put something on the agenda and have someone report back to the council and then provide follow-up prior to November 30th, if that's something you want to do as well. So.
Yes, I agree with that. Councilman.
That's
Vice
what
Mayor Purdock.
I was just going to say. I think it's important that we identify someone who could represent council in that meeting and at least report back. I think this is could have a big impact on our city, both pro and con, for having 3 members of supervisorial influence within the city limits.
Councilman Kramer.
we need to have some idea what we
You have to speak
feel.
in the mic.
If we do that, we need to have some idea what direction we want to go in. If a council member goes to this November 2nd meeting and gives them input. So, well, I guess in general, I would say, do we want to, as Bruno is saying, do we want to get some District 3 representation, so we have 3 districts representing the city, or do we want to give up some more of the city to District 1? That's basically the,
Personally, I think having 3 supervisors, having a portion of our city is not a bad idea, so.
But I think,
Councilman
yeah, I think
Bartley,
like
go ahead.
Mr. Purdock said, there's pros and cons to it. And I think having a larger population base in one of the districts could give us a little bit more sway and a little bit more influence in that particular district as opposed to us being fragmented.
Councilman Overton?
So what I've seen over the years is, unfortunately, it's not nothing to do with any of our supervisors, but they have a hard time doing anything in the city of Clear Lake by themselves because they're just standing there by themselves. So, I mean, to me, I think we'd be much better off if we could throw in another, and hopefully, that they care enough that with the 3 of them fighting for our end of the lake is a little easier than our supervisor standing out there kind of by himself. So, I mean, those are the pros and cons, for us to think about. But I think having 3 is way better than really, at this point in time, we kind of have 2, but we don't. So.
If I may, yeah, so we have 3 that we're engaged in supporting here in the population base of our county. That would be great, but if we have someone who's not representing us, then I think we're just, we have that already.
Well, that's why I'm thinking maybe having a 3rd one in.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, we have one more hand raised on the Zoom.
okay, let's go ahead.
Yes, I also concerned in representation, but if we are split up into 3, we obviously have a strong person, but if we have 2 smaller pieces, I'm concerned that we won't necessarily get the consideration. So I'm hearing what you're saying, but I think having 3 different people representing us, especially the 2 smaller ones, we risk having even less support, not necessarily more. So I think it could go either way. I'm just, when you only have a small fraction, where does your base lie? And if we have 2 small fractions, we continue to lose more base. So that concerns me. Thank you.
We have
Any other public comment?
any other public comment, either here or
There are no hands raised in the Zoom.
in the public here? If not, we're going to close the public meeting and we'll have some more discussion here with the council. Go ahead.
whether we have 2 or we have 3 supervisors representing us, it's up to us to make sure those supervisors do represent us. Vice Mayor Purdock alluded to maybe not having the representation that we would desire in one of the districts now. Is it going to get better if we add that 3rd one and have another supervisor that's actually on the other end of the district? Whether we'll get that representation from him, that's the other way of looking at it. And obviously with each election, those supervisors could change. And we're looking at 10 years of whoever the supervisors is. I think it's probably up to us to make our supervisors recognize us more and recognize the problems in our city more. Certainly we have one supervisor who's very strongly representing us. The other 2 the other one right now, we need to to improve that representation. And if we go to 3 districts, we're going to have to make sure that that third supervisor also sees what our problems are and represents us strongly. So it's, there's a lot of things to think of in it, but I think that at the end of the day, we need to make sure our supervisors know that we're here.
Vice Mayor Purdue.
Okay, my last comment, Mr. Mayor. This is a sword that can cut both ways. It also allows people within either of those districts. I am agreeing with Councilmember Overton. I think there could be advantage, and it would also allow people living within the city limits to essentially run for all 3 districts, if that's in fact how the lines fall. So that could be a benefit. Again, we're very in the wind right now. We don't really have anything. The board is still deciding that. But I, again, would recommend that we have someone present in the conversations. And I also think we need to reach out to our public to become involved in this and make their opinions known for what our community wants. So that's my recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilwoman Overton.
My last comment too. So please realize that when our supervisor will still have the majority of our city. So we're not losing that. What would be gaining is hopefully 2 supervisors that will also be fighting for our area. So I don't see a loss here, really. I really don't. I don't see a loss here. And as Councilmember Kramer says, it is up to us to push our supervisors to represent us. So I think that all that would do is support our supervisor now with 2 more people that might start caring more about our cities. Right now, they don't, because one has a very small portion. I mean, like a super small portion that almost is non-existence in that. So in order to get that support from District 1, they need to have more of our city in order to care more about what goes on here. Because right now it's such a small portion, it's not really a concern to him. So I really feel like having these supervisors, but I think we need a representative, and I don't know if our mayor is willing to be that representative, but I think we need to appoint somebody to that and be there for us.
I would say one point, the portion of the city in District 1 is not real tiny.
It's substantial.
It's substantial.
Well,
It's
not.
over, it's probably at least 4,000 people. But I do agree. I think, if we can get a 3rd supervisor representing us on the north end, we have nothing to lose there. And I would also be willing to be, if you didn't want to do it, Mr. Mayor, I have dug into this pretty deeply in the last week or 2 and would not mind representing us if you wanted me to.
Okay, I'm trying to see what my schedule is, but just my point of view is I like the idea of having 3 supervisors representing. We know that our current supervisor, Bruno, is a big advocate for the city. And I do think that District 1 supervisor is starting to get a little bit more interested in ours because we made him. And, I think they need to be reminded that where the votes are. So I'm in favor of having 3 supervisors represented in the city. I do agree that we need to appoint somebody to be able to attend that meeting on November 2nd that's in the evening, I believe.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
I'll do that, and I think if there is a second person that be an alternate, that would be great. Yeah, Mr. Kramer, Councilman Kramer, unless somebody else really wants to step up. Okay, so we'll have me as a first person and Councilman Kramer as a alternate at this point for this observing the map drawing of the county on November 2nd. Go ahead, Count.
Well, and then do you think we need a motion for that, or is just? Okay. Yeah, and then we'll just have the item back, and we'll have hopefully some maps from that meeting to talk about on November 4th, and you can choose how to provide official input to the Board of Supervisors for final action.
So what I hear to kind of conclude that the majority of the council would like to see 3 supervisors being represented in the city. Okay. All right, move on to item number 15, discussion and possible action regarding a storage facility for disaster supplies. Recommended. Go ahead. All right, we'll have a 5-minute break.
We don't hear you over the speakers because the master switch was off. It's on now,
Is it on now? Do you want me to start over again?
please.
Okay, this all started after the Valley fires, back in early days of Larka. And we were being evacuated to all points of the county and outside of the county for different fires. A few of us got together and decided it would, we're a large city, we ought to have our own place where we can have emergency shelter. Lower Lake Community Action Group members, Mike Dean, were a big part of that that early stuff. And so we started figuring out what it was we would need to qualify as an emergency evacuation shelter. It was determined we need uninterruptible power, that we need bathroom shower units. So if people are staying there for more than one night, they have a place to be able to take a shower and clean up. And decided we needed storage so that Red Cross equipment, materials and supplies could be stored on site and be right there in the case of an emergency, rather than waiting for Red Cross to bring them in or bring them from some other location in. We raised funds, PG&E, well, initially Lower Lake Community Action Group donated, donated the transfer switch, was a $7,800 item that kicked the effort off. Then we had Dave Rogers with Coastal Mountain Electric came in, and he and his son John did an assessment of the building's requirements for electricity. From that, determination was needed that we needed a 200 kW generator. Mike Dean actually solicited a donation from PG&E. They gave us $75,000. Larka, by the way, it was decided Larka would be the agent that handled the funding and did receive the donations and made the payments out as they came. And myself, as treasurer of Larka, was very much involved in the beginning. Mayor Slotin, as president of Larka, was also very much involved in that process. Next, we looked at the building itself to see whether we could convert some of the bathrooms and add showers, and it just was decided it couldn't be done. It wasn't designed correctly, wasn't the room to do it. At that point, we made a decision to go out and get a shower bath trailer. Found the company that built those. The trailer that we have now is a four units, bathroom, toilet facility, shower, basin, mirror, one of which is for wheelchair and use, ADA. Anyway, so we bought that. We got that. That donation came from a grant that I got through Senator McGuire's office. He got us in touch with Tipping Point community in Sonoma County. They donated $50,000. That brought the trailer and a little bit more. We also got donations. I think Mayor Slotin actually solicited donations from a couple of faith-based churches in Napa County, if I recall. That was 15 or 20,000. We raised over, and then so we had the trailer there, and it was trying to figure out the best place to put it. We looked at different areas on the site, and at the end of the day, it was agreed that where the trailer is now was the best because it was the closest. Number one, our special districts would not allow us to put the hook into the sewer that serviced the building. So we had to go directly into the sewer on the street, and they were going to charge us $13,000 to do that, in addition to the actual hookup. Golden State Water donated fee or permits that they had already acquired and we're not going to be able to use anyway. It's a $13,000 donation from them. So we had the building on the, where we had, excuse me, the trailer, and we decided it needed to be housed because so it wouldn't be weather damaged. It can be taken out of that building if we wanted to or needed to take it somewhere else for some reason. But it's housed there. We hired a contractor to hook the sewer from the trailer to the street. Larka gave the city $15,000 to pour the slab for a building where the trailer is going to sit on. And then we got a bid for the building as it was to be set up on that site from a local business. And so that went in. We spent somewhere north of $225,000 to get the facility that far. We ran out of money before we got to the storage building at the bottom, at the end of the day. So we had a few dollars left, which I got together with Chief White, and he had some needs for security lights and cameras. So we donated some funds to that so that those cameras protect the entire community center, not just the evacuation trailer. Then the cash fire hit, and our old friends at Redwood Credit, who have since the Valley Fire, had donated somewhere in the neighborhood of what, $1.5 million, Mayor?
A little bit under that.
Under that, for various fires between 2015 and now. They called me and said, hey, we'd like to donate to the cash fire victims, survivors. We have some, I guess they're prepaid credit cards. I understand they're $1,000 denominations each, which they have been donating to them. At some point, somewhere in the past, I had mentioned to Matt Martin with Redwood Credit that, the emergency evacuation shelter was complete except for a storage building, and I didn't think anything more of it. I got a call from Kevin Cox with Hope City saying that Redwood Credit had contacted him and asked if they would coordinate with Redwood Credit to get the storage building for us. They would donate up to, I think, $30,000, and Hope City has volunteered to do the wiring for the slab and do that part of it. The money for purchasing the building is around $21,000. We figured concrete at $5,000, the foundation and rebar at another $800, and electrical at about $1,500. We're just under the $30,000 at the end of the day with that. And it would be all volunteer labor with Hope City being the contractor on it, and they would volunteer their services. So there would be no paying anybody, which has come up as an issue. I've been on the phone with Mr. Jones over the past week because it was brought up as an issue that we can't do this. And maybe you can jump in on this if you'd like, City Manager Flora, but that it would be a danger. And in fact, he has stated that we probably may have been out of compliance with prevailing wage issues. But in having Mr. Jones look at all of this, we believe that it can be done as long as we use Hope City's contractor as a general contractor to do all of the work and be in compliance with that. So that takes care of that issue. But the big thing is Redwood Credit would like to give us $30,000 to help us complete the emergency evacuation shelter. It was started 5 years ago. This was a project that was planned. Where we'd like to put the building is on the north side of the curb, right at the curb in that alley area. that's on the north side of the parking lot. It's 38 feet wide, that alley is. I think it needs a 15-foot setback on that. So by going with a 20-foot wide building, we would leave 18 feet. It would be in compliance with it. It would use an area that's now not being used, and as far as I can tell, doesn't have any planned use. And I think it's well laid out. The building would match the construction of the shower trailer building, which in turn matches the outside construction of the community center building. With the same color scheme, it fits very well, and it completes the project. I would really like to get going with it. We've had some other interim uses that possibly could be put to that storage building if it were there right now, and I'll let, it's World Vision, a company, and I'm going to let you know, you don't want to talk about it. Okay, well, we have some other options that the storage building could also benefit us from, but primarily it completes the emergency evacuation shelter. That was planned for 5 years. It would, we've had, I said, $225,000 in funding, of cash funding. Another one that actually donated as well was Redbud Health District. They donated $41,000. So this has truly been a community project from day one. And it completes this project. It's what I've been wanting to see for, again, we ran out of money. We always needed it, and this is the final piece in that puzzle. I want to take advantage of that and get that done. And I think we can get it done fairly quickly. So,
Great, thank you. Now we have some questions from Councilwoman Overton.
Okay, when this all started, we had talked, about, is this still going to have the storage for when we do have evacuations, that there would be a room for food storage? Is that still kind of the thought, or is just going to be for supplies for like beds and?
well, the building will be 20 by 40. It's 800 square feet of storage, and it's planned to be, I think, high enough so you could get a forklift and stack two bins high. So it'll take quite a bit of storage. My purpose is for the emergency evacuation shelter, but certainly it's open, it's storage.
Well, it's just when we have emergencies, as I'm sure you guys have all noticed, food's everywhere, freezers are everywhere, and the dry storage becomes a big problem of where to put it. And I'm trying to organize that center to where that's not happening anymore. So when we originally talked about it, it was going to have a space there that we could put dry storage during emergency situations, because there's just no room in the building to do that. So
Yeah, no, for the emergency evacuation shelter, absolutely, it could be used for that.
yeah, it would just be for that. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. So when we get the donations, we would have a place
Yeah.
we would also be able to
No, that-
utilize that as, because that's one of the biggest problems is, everybody wants to be generous and they want to donate food, but unfortunately, it gets to the point where we can't take any because we don't have the space for it. So, which I'd like to see if we're able to put shelves in there and maybe do some of that to where we have an extra little space for storage for food. Because we all know that when they do go home, a lot of them don't have food. And it would be nice to be able to provide them with some right from the start to go home with. So, this is basically just following through with the original plan is what it sounds like to me. So.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so, well, I don't like to be in this position on a regular basis. I would like to provide a different recommendation to the council to consider. I do want to point out, first of all, that this item wasn't added to the agenda later, so apologize to Councilmember Kramer if there's any miscommunication on that. It was posted with the original agenda. And I do think it's important to, there's been, exceptional support on this, the whole shelter project from LARCA, from Redwood Credit Union. Most of you in this room, if not all of you. I think we have a city facility that is, while it, it is designed to be used as an emergency evacuation shelter, it is primarily a senior and community center. I don't think that adding an additional building out there for storage is the best use of that property. We have we've been working on the Burns Valley Sports Complex plan, and that includes the new public works yard. As you're aware, with the new public works shop, and you probably can't see it or the text real well from here, but it's going to be a very large area that staff is visioning of sort of being a hub for disaster response. It's going to include some space for the police department. This is the main public works shop. Our intent at this point, as we're working through the design, is to add additional bays to that facility for future growth. Because it's, as we discussed earlier, it's not going to be cheaper to build it than it is now, but kind of build the shell of it out and then grow the shop or other uses into it. And so this whole section of the shop here would be available for storage. I think that the use of the property would be better suited for this type of use. It's a third of a mile down the road. And so I think that the council should consider this as an option as well. As far as there's one thing I wanted to mention. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we can store, and we're working on a whole, $600,000 to $700,000 of investment in upgrading the community center over the next year and adding more dry storage space for the senior center to utilize and whatnot. But as far as the Red Cross storage supplies, I mean, currently those are stored in a couple of trailers, which are on this side of the lake, at least, kept at the county's sewer treatment plant off of Pond Road. And I don't think that the counselors have the expectation that, a bunch of shelves with the Red Cross supplies is what is really needed. They're going to want those to still be mobile, because we will use the community center as an emergency shelter from time to time. There's going to be a lot of other times where that's not going to be the place for one reason or another. And so they're going to need to have that trailer just hook onto it and take off. So anyway, I just want to throw that out as an alternative for this.
Councilwoman Overton.
Yeah, so in our facility, would that be a place where they would be able to pull their trailer in and park and then just be able to pull it out? Is that how that's going to be set up for them?
I haven't been involved in the planning and design of that, so I don't know if Councilmember Kramer has talked to the county care and shelter team about what they would how they would like to handle that. But I mean, just knowing how the process works currently, I'm sure that they would want the trailers to not be unloaded. I mean, they're not going to want to load them up. They want to just grab them and go to wherever it may be.
To City Manager Floor is correct that Red Cross does put their trailer out there. There's a second trailer out there that Lake County Fire Protection District acquired a couple of years ago that's separate from the actual one that Red Cross has. And the idea when we were thinking about the storage building before was that material that's now out at Pond Road. And again, if it's on a weekend when the disaster hits, you got to find somebody that has a key to Pond Road, and then you have to get somebody that has a key to the trailer. There's a lot of steps. Materials that were in the second trailer, the one that was actually donated, I think, to Lake County Fire, would actually come into this facility and be there. It's separate from the Red Crosses. So that was what the thought was there. But yes, the Red Cross trailer could be backed into that, to answer your question. This is calling for a 14-foot wide by 10-foot or 12-foot high door. So there would be room to be able to back that in there.
I'd like to, I mean, personally, as just my opinion is I think maybe there needs to be a little more discussion between the city and you guys about the different facilities, because, I mean, I agree, I don't really need another building there if it's not necessary, and we do have a lot, you know, we did, at the time we were talking about this, we didn't have that purchase of that piece of property. So I think maybe for me to make a decision on it tonight, I feel like there might need to be a little more discussion about what the exact use and what's the time frame and all of that stuff. So I think maybe this might need something to come back to us on.
Let me reiterate that we're looking at a $30,000 donation from Redwood Credit specifically for this storage building. It's not to have $30,000 given to the city to do something somewhere else. It's for this storage building.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that, you know, it may be that $30,000 can be a better use someplace else if we are not necessarily needing it. So I think there needs to be more discussion with you and our engineer and stuff to find out like what's the time frame and stuff like that. I think the discussion is needed, because I don't think if we have the space that's going to be at this city facility already, which like I said is like literally 2 blocks away, is it really necessary for us to create another building if it's not really necessary for us to do that? And I mean, I understand it's $30,000 being given to us, but it might be better used someplace else.
It's actually closer to a half mile, not 2 blocks or a third of a mile. But whether it's around the corner, it's still, again, it's the same as the Pond Road facility. You need to, if in the case of an emergency.
No offense, but I have the same problem with the shower. If somebody needs, if I
No,
need
with
to
the
open up the
shower,
shower, I have
with
to
the
call
sho-
somebody to come do it.
With
So
with the shower,
Hold on. Any other comments? Just Vice Mayor Purdock, you kind of putting your pin up, but not quite, so please.
One of the things that I wanted to we're talking about something that. Thank you. One of the things we're talking about is the timing, and it's my understanding from the presentation that Redwood Credit is making the donation to our evacuation center, not for something that may happen down the road in another location. So we need to get some clarity around that. And then what's the timeline involved for the building out of our public works yard? Are we talking about a week? Are we talking about 3 months, 6 months, or a year?
2 or 3 years.
Councilman Claffey, you have any comments, questions?
Well, yeah, Mr. Mayor, would you like me to ask or answer the question about the public works yard timing, or?
Please.
So we don't have, we aren't ready to move forward with the shop right now. We talked about this in our workshop, but there's a few phases. So the first phase, which we're still planning to get out to bid in the next week or 2 at the most, would be the first phase. So that's like the mudslingers parcel. And then it would be fencing the public works yard area, installing the gate, adding all the base rock and utilities, and some lighting out there so that we can begin using it, at least it's secure, for perhaps some equipment storage and so forth. So we're still working on the design stuff for the shop, so that's not going to be available. I mean, it's probably, if we're lucky, that'll be a year out. Okay. If we needed to provide an immediate solution, our recommendation would be to locate some cargo containers in the new public works yard secure area and provide storage that way on an interim basis. We're already going to be doing that for some needs of the police department as soon as that's available. So.
Go ahead, Mr. Claffey.
My question, I guess, if this building doesn't go to the location that Councilmember Kramer suggested, what would be the use of that land? It sounded like you had alternatives, or you just, or.
Well, from my perspective, no, there would not be really another use other than just green space. I just hate to see another separate building erected at the community center when we're investing. I mean, it's not that it's going to be a bad looking building. It's going to look just like the building the shower trailer's in. And it's just my opinion, but I think that we're investing so much in making it, look nicer and be more of a community space that I'd rather have storage facilities like that be at a place like the Public Works Yard, which, seems more appropriate.
Vice Mayor Purdue.
Got it. I just, that was a question I was going to follow up with Councilman Claffey, so thank you for asking that. But I'd also looked at the site plan for the senior center. There isn't anything planned or designated for that area. It does fit the visual of the buildings are all consistent. And this is something that, again, was part of the emergency disaster plan 5 years ago, was to have the storage there, and we definitely need storage made available. So to me, this is a culmination of some community members that are very involved in wanting to support the work that we've been doing. It would finish off the project. And I think we need to look at what's best for our community, and being able to support them in crisis and in the emergencies, I think should be at the top of the list.
Okay. Now I have two questions. The money from Redwood Credit Union is going to be first go into the Larka's bank account. Larka is going to. Is there a way that we can make this additional storage be part of the existing building? I mean, can we expand it in a way that it looks like?
No, not really easily. As we need the one end has to be as it is to be able to, if we wanted to take the trailer out.
So it's going to be basically, it has to be, it's going to be on the north side of the curb where the electrical panel is.
So this is my drawing. Here's the shower trailer here, the curb. This is the turnaround, the fence. The building would go right here. The electrical panel is right here. It's about a 12-foot run over to the building.
Is there a way that you can hide it more behind the existing building?
No,
Enough
it
space.
needs, well, it needs to be here for, the door would be right here for truck or whatever to be able to access it from the.
I'm just trying to see if there's a way you can kind of add to the existing building.
No,
and do it
behind it is.
So it looks like one building, that's all.
Behind it this way is where Councilwoman Overton has got a lot of things planned in this area. Didn't want to go that way anymore. Plus the sewer line goes out this way. The power lines come up this way.
Right, I know where the power is, but, okay.
So it's not practical, I don't think.
Okay, we're gonna, discussion here at the council is kind of finished now. We'll just open it up to the public. Anybody from the public has a comment on this or suggestions or?
There are no hands raised in the Zoom.
All right, we'll bring it back to the council. What direction do we want to provide staff on this issue?
Mr. Mayor, I think you know my position. I think we need to move forward. I think Redwood Credit Union has given us a gift, and we've got volunteer help to put it in. So that takes away any of the concerns about prevailing wage or anything else when essentially Larka, just like the shower trailer and other things, have been donated to the evacuation center.
I mean, this was the original plan to start with, when this all started. So, I mean, I know it's not, I'm kind of like Alan too. I don't really want another building, but then I also know that this was the plan from the very beginning to do this. So, and if we're not going to use it for anything else, I'm fine with that.
Claffey, last comment?
I think the effort that went into this is really commendable, and I appreciate all the people that came together to make this happen. Unfortunately, I couldn't see your handout, so I can't quite visualize it. If we do still have a little bit of time, I know you said you wanted to have this on the November agenda. I would be okay waiting, going to the site, taking a look. If you would offer a tour, and then maybe that gives some time for you to get on the same page with the city. If we don't have that type of time, I think I'm fine moving forward with this.
We're like, I'm not on the same page with City Manager Flora. He does not want it there, and that's where it needs to go, in my opinion. I pass this around. It's rough, but you can see it.
So you. So we have a. Okay.
There's a pile of dirt in that area already. That pile of dirt was for the base for that building. And, but, when we thought we still had the money to be able to put that storage building up at the same time.
I have a question. Can we have a piece of slab added to it that's 6 inches thick that's next to the patio? Can we have a slab added to the, so we have some?
You think Rotary could come up with that, a little bit of money?
I don't know. I don't know if Rotary has any money for that.
I'm open, you want to put the exercise?
We could pour it all at the same time.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So if this is at the north end of the parking lot there?
Yes.
Okay.
It is at the north end.
Okay.
There's 38 feet between the curb of the north end of the parking lot and the fence, which I assume is the property line. And I'm assuming that there's a 15-foot setback there for whatever reason. So that leaves if I go with a 20-foot wide building, it would leave the next, 3 feet now between that and the setback line. So we're within that.
I have another question for staff. So we have to get a building permit and all that good stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
we got a building permit for the shower trailer building.
Right, no, I get it. So I think the direction that I'm hearing from the council is that we want to proceed with that, but we want to have it brought back for Mr. Claffey at the next meeting to finalize this. Is that?
So
Do you have, does that show you what?
Yeah, I'm looking at the map here. That location, I'm actually fine with.
I'm sorry?
I'm okay with that location. I thought it was on the other side in the. Yeah, I figured you would. So, if this is the direction we want to go, I'm comfortable with that location.
Okay, so I think that's the direction to staff.
Sorry.
I mean, it is what it is. I just, regardless of the generosity of the community, I feel like the city should plan its capital improvement projects, not take outside direction related to that. And so I just think that I'm not trying to start another discussion. I'm just saying, I think that that's in the best interest of the city in the future.
All right. That's the end of item number 15. City managers and council members report. City manager.
I have nothing additional to report.
All right. Councilman Kramer.
Yes, I attended the Risk Reduction Agency Authority meeting earlier this week. There were two things of interest. There were presentations made by Lindsay Daly from the Terra Tribal Eco Restoration Alliance. Basically, they are training crews to do vegetation management, vegetation reduction projects, and they'll be available for agencies within the county to use. And the second presentation was made by North Bay Alliance Workforce, Bruce Wilson. I believe that City Manager Flora is also a member of the North Bay Alliance. And they basically do similar things, and they're maybe a little further along in their training. But these are assets that perhaps we could use in our vegetation reduction efforts in the future. I've had a conversation with City Manager Flora, and I think we were in agreement on that one. But that's pretty much my report.
All right. Vice Mayor Purdock. Got anything exciting to report?
Well, for those who may have purchased luau tickets through the Clearlake Chamber, that event has been moved from Vista del Lago because of the pending wet weather coming on Saturday, so it can't be an outdoor event, to the Clearlake Calliope Masonic Lodge. And I hope anybody who has tickets will enjoy themselves. And that's this Saturday at 5 o'clock.
Right. Councilman Claffey, you have anything?
Actually, I have a question for Councilmember Purdock. Is the luau a suit event or a Hawaiian shirt event?
I am wearing a Hawaiian shirt. If I
And it
can
is
get
a
it,
Hawaiian
50
shirt
degrees
event.
and raining or
whether
not.
it's 50 degrees and raining or not, it's a luau. It is a come as you want to. Very, very laid back. Let's enjoy ourselves.
Excellent. I had the pleasure of attending the PEG meeting, also the marketing committee meeting, both making good strides, getting ready to gear up for 2022 planning. I also at least viewed the Measure V committee meeting online, and I just wanted to give a hand to the staff. I think now if anyone asks me questions about roads, I want to show them that meeting because I thought it was so well presented, the way you guys handled that. So it's a wonderful job. The Bike Angels, they had a giveaway to the Cache Creek Fire victims 2 weekends ago. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Candy Alcott, Kat Potter, the fire department supervisor Sabatier, Commissioner McCarrick, school board member Neria, and everyone else from the community that came out to help and give back and do what they can to the folks, for the folks who suffered through that. And then I guess I'll save trunk or treat for you. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so I've been doing several things, went to the marketing committee, and one of the things we're on our things right now is the trunk or treat that's on the 31st over here at Austin's Park. We are really encouraging people to sign up for vehicles, decorate your trunks and come and help us hand out this candy to these kids. It's a well attended event. In fact, I feel like it's probably the largest one outside of the one we had for the 4th of July, which was unusual, but we have pretty good turnout at this one here. And it's really a nice, fun, activity for the families, and it keeps our kids safe. So, please go on to downtownclearlake.com and hit trunk or treat, and the application for volunteering or your vehicles are, you can fill out there, and it'll be sent to our wonderful David, who will get that to me. So talking about our community center, we've been working with Relief, and we finally have an approval for a plan to be planting a little orchard in the back of fruit trees in our community garden. And then we're going to be lining our wonderful area there with live oak trees. So all the way around the front and down the side of Bowers Avenue. The project is planned to start in February. So that's something that I'm looking so forward to, because when those grow out, it's going to make that such a beautiful, beautiful area to just look at. Is once we get all our outdoor things, if we ever get that done. Here we have some holdups on that project, but it's kind of something we can look forward to. I'm hoping in the next year that whole place is going to be so different. It's going to be
We can
beautiful.
put some oak trees around the storage building.
No, it's all to do with watering, we just have to make sure, but that's, we got the plan in place now. I don't know if she's going to allow me to change it again, because we've been going back and forth too much. I think I've irritated her, poor girl. But it's, I'm just really looking forward to that being completed, and probably some oak trees along the backside will be on the parking lot side for shade for when we get our parking lot in there. They originally had the fruit trees on that side, and I was like, no, we're putting a parking lot in. We can't have it on that side. So we moved it over. So, but they worked really hard in helping us get that to where it's going to be a really nice shaded areas and fruit for our community. So I'm looking forward to that all happening. We know that the fruit trees and stuff all take a couple of years, but it's still exciting to see something really popping out there. So I'm excited about that. One of the things I want to also is on the 30th, the Love Thy Neighbors is doing a community event at the American Legion along with them, and they're going to be giving clothes and food items, and they're also going to be serving food and stuff there. So it's just for anybody in need for, since I can't really do my warm for the winter, we're kind of throwing connection to them. And so they'll be, they're just going to have all kinds of things going on there for anybody that's in need. They need to come there, and I think it'll be a great way to get the same process out that we did for the warm for the winter. Is just a different organization. We're just all combining our efforts, which is what I'd love to see in our community, is combining our efforts. So, and I really want to thank our staff for all your hard work on all the things that we're doing. And could we get and maybe you can just, I don't know, do we have any update on what is happening over at the community center with the grants and stuff? I understand we had some holdups there with the flood problem.
Yeah, we're required to go through a fairly lengthy NEPA process to, it's a federal environmental review process because a portion of the property is in the flood zone. So it's going to be, I don't know,
Off a long time.
while. Yeah.
So I'm curious, is it, I mean, since we're just putting in a parking lot and basically grass and stuff, why are we having to go through? Did they give a reason for that?
Because some of these regulations are ridiculous.
Okay, so it's just the state, definitely.
We're doing the same thing at Redbud Park to put in new toilets and sinks.
Yeah, yeah,
so
this is crazy. Okay,
it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
that's was really sad that I heard that, and I'm kind of disappointed because I was really hoping we could be moving forward with this instead of just hanging out there. But I mean, I'm just anticipating it's going to take a couple of years and this will actually finally get done. And I'm kind of excited by then. The trees will be, by the time this gets done, the trees will be shading everything, right? So, all right, thank you very much.
All right, we have a redo by Vice Mayor.
Just really quick,
And an add-on over here.
oh my goodness. So I just want to thank, we've had a restart of a community meeting that is really important for our community to find about new things that are going on, new programs. It's been wonderful to have the judges breakfast starting up. But I just want to compliment our staff, our chief of police is there, our city manager is there, other members, our of course, council members are there, and it's so important, I think, for the community to see us working together and to hear new things are happening from our city staff. And it's just really very much appreciated. And again, there's just so much going on that takes so many extra hours beyond the 8-hour day. And I don't think the public is fully aware of that, especially when I see some, criticisms for people who get a raise to hopefully improve our county and improve the people that come and work here, and we want to keep them here. I just want to recognize that is a very important part of growth and improvement of our county and our city.
We have an add-on by Councilman Kramer.
Councilmember Claffey reminded me when he was talking about the bike giveaway for the cash fire victims. Regard to Larka's efforts. And by the way, I wanted to thank Director Young for all the help she gave me in finding some extra people, and I might have even found one for her. But
Councilmember Kramer, would you mind speaking into your mic, please?
I'm sorry. I want to thank Finance Director Young for her help with trying to find some of these folks that I couldn't find in my efforts. As a result, I've actually put in the mail today the last of 56 grants that were given out, 54 of which are general assistance grants and 2 of which are business recovery grants for cash fire survivors. And I've got 7 and I'm still unable to either contact or confirm their address. So I'm pretty far down the line. I don't know if I've got 3 unsigned, 3 checks that are pre-signed by you, and if I find these 7, I'll need 4 more. But my efforts so far have not produced anything, so I think we're probably okay for now. But anyhow, we've given away $33,000 in grants to date for the cash fire survivors.
Great.
Larka has.
Marcus is back in action again, I guess. I have a couple of items. One, I I listened to a Retail Strategies web seminar this morning on Christmas sales. Interesting. A lot of people are worried about supply chain issues. But they suggested to ramp up on your advertising, the city banners, all that kind of stuff early. And a lot of local artists, local product. Obviously, they don't have a lot of supply chain issues. That would be a good idea to promote those very heavily. So I think that's something maybe that the chamber might want to think about. And if we want to put up the banners early, they suggested to do that. And I think that's a good idea for our local businesses to produce local parts and local things that they can sell at Christmas time, because a lot of people are afraid of the larger stores that they have major supply issues. So it could be good if we just refocus on what will sell. That's really all I have to say. Anything else? Oh, Councilwoman Overton.
Well, you mentioned the judge's breakfast, and I just want to reiterate as the director of the senior center, how much we appreciate you guys coming in and having your dinner there. And to let you know that this week you guys provided 100 meals with the money that we received from you guys. So it's really nice to know that that's a big thing. 100 meals is a big thing. So, I mean, that's, you think about that's 3 months of meals for somebody. And that is a great thing, and we really appreciate it.
We might, I won't be there next Thursday, but please. Yeah. Please mention that to the crowd over there. All right. Nobody has any more reports? Meeting adjourned. Oh, future agenda items, forgot, sorry. I do have one. The sunflower. The sunflower, can we get an update on that? What's going on there? And the little cottages, the white cottages next to that, or on the next agenda? Yep. Anybody else has any future agenda items? If not, meeting adjourned.